The hobby of reading and collecting comic books can not only grow out of hand really quickly, but simultaneously you may notice that it gets really expensive really fast if you're not careful about it. So I spent all of last month really intentionally sticking to a low buy as I visited my local comic shop to pick up my pulls every week, and I learned a few things. So I'm going to tell you the rules I set for myself, the pros I found out of being really, really specific about my purchasing, and then the cons, or the things I struggled with, as well as show you what I ended up deeming to be an appropriate budget for myself and my collecting and reading journey. Let's go. I know that I stay organized by handwriting, notes, lists, journaling, all of that stuff. Really, really helpful for keeping my mind in check and organizing my priorities. A lot less helpful of a tool when I'm outside of my own environment and I'm at the local comic shop and I don't have my notebook with me. So I really ended up leaning on using the Comic Geeks app on my phone way more than I ever have in the past for this challenge to be successful for myself. I set one rule, which was that books must be on the pull list in order for me to bring them home. So dialing in that Comics Geeks list and making sure that it lined up with the pull list I had set with the workers at my local comic shop was key. The only caveat that I ended up adding to that was if a book was purchased through gift card store credit, my shop has these gift coins, anything like that, it wouldn't be coming out of my budget, therefore it would be okay to bring the book home because the driving factor for doing this was to reassess my budget. So, with that being said, I did my homework, I paid attention to final order cutoff dates, and I went into my shop ahead of time and I ironed out my pull list. According to all of that homework, I should have brought home 14 single issues for the month, and I ended up bringing home a total of 16 single issues for the month. Not breaking my rule with the caveat in place. Sue me on those two issues, I guess. There were 4 books specifically that I missed and have not gone back and grabbed for various reasons. I spent a total of $74.84. 10 of that was those 2 issues that were unexpected, so I actually spent $64.84. Average cost per book for the month ended up being $4.68. So I'm finding that I'm buying a lot more of those $5 price point books versus the $4 price point books. And then the average cost per week that I was spending at the local comic shop with my pull list was $18.71, bringing home an average of 4 books per week, which leads me into my first major pro of doing this challenge. Here are those 16 books actualized, and my first major pro was that I had a really balanced reading experience every week because of the fashion in which I was accumulating books. Nothing unexpected hit me, so I could properly pace myself through my pull list for the month. Knowing what I had coming really kept me on a natural pace, and I think that's worth something. I genuinely pulled things that I like and enjoy. And so it gave me a really good understanding and basis to identify what I naturally gravitate towards more, what I intend to read, what I want to bring home, pattern recognition for who, what characters, what writers, what creative teams, what publishers I'm most naturally interested in, because there were really no outside influences on my purchasing for the month or my reading. Another super major win from doing this was having zero stress about whether or not the book I wanted to secure that week was gonna be available at the shop, because it was already sitting in my pull box waiting for me. Meant I wasn't rushing, meant I wasn't wandering on my way from work to the shop if people beat me to the book or whatever, because I had done my homework and I gained some sense of security out of doing that. An obvious win is knowing what you're going to be spending, but something that I found that came out of that was almost a bit of a freedom to dismiss myself from having FOMO, which ended up being a pro and a con, but I would say I was a lot less worried about missing out on something because I was intentionally excited about the things I had organized to pick, and I was committed to seeing my challenge through, more so than I was worried about missing something that I didn't know about. It can sound like it was all kind of roses, but there were cons, don't get me wrong. I don't want to dwell on the cons too much because overall I think that ultimately this was a really positive, good experience for me to put myself through. But the biggest con by far was that like I wasn't spending as much time in my local shop as I kind of typically would or enjoy doing, because to me, the comic shop is like a third space that I'm investing my time, my energy, my money into. And I truly enjoy like the friendships that I'm making in there, or like seeing what other people are buying, looking at the new variant covers, seeing what's on the wall, browsing for like things to stumble upon that like I didn't know existed, you know, like all of that kind of stuff that comes with spending time there, rather than just beelining it for my box, which is already pre-pulled for me, and then kind of dipping out. So I did notice that ultimately that's where I felt like the most loss while doing this challenge, but it was self-inflicted. Another thing was this format setting recipe, if you will, that I set for myself didn't factor in bringing home trades or DC compacts, which are another thing that I've really been into lately and wanting to explore more. It forced me to really only read single issues for the month, but we can move past that. Pretty slight con. I can't say that like I totally eliminated FOMO by wanting to stick to my challenge, and it's real. Like even if you go into the comic shop with a blindfold on, you still see what people are posting online. You still see what pops up on the cover of Comic Geeks when you open the app or whatever it may be. And there is buzz around things, which is also part of what makes the community so cool and how I enjoy participating in all of this. So yeah, FOMO did still exist and was a slight pain point, but like it's kind of always going to be. I can't make this video without talking about the 2 books that I bought with fake money from the LCS, and also not mention the ones that I left behind. So firstly, I ended up grabbing Spectacular Spider-Man Brand New Day because I am trying to actively collect the old Spectacular Spider-Man books, and I didn't want to pass this one up. I also didn't want to get like spoiled for it. I saw this variant, I really liked it, and I figured it would be a great, perfect use of one of my $5 coins. So it came home with me one week. And then the other book was Venom 258. This purchase was a product of realizing that I really liked the Amazing Spider-Man issue that pulled us out of the Death Spiral event, and so I wanted to kind of get that same closure with Venom series, and it ended up being a really good Peter and MJ storyline or closeout, and I do not regret also spending a $5 coin on this book. So I guess we know a habit that we can identify from this little segment is that Spider-Man is my weak point. Now, the books that I did not grab and left behind were, every week that I went in, Royals tempted me because they had the first, the second, and the third issues all still there. And now they're gone. I can't go back and get them. I didn't put it on my pull list because I was behind on it, and I regret that, but I think that's a lesson in trade waiting. Similarly, Narco kind of was pulling me the same way, but they didn't have a 1, so I wasn't gonna buy 2 and then try to track down a 1, especially during a low buy. This month that I was doing the challenge, Odin #1 came out, and If Destruction Be Our Lot #1 came out. And people are talking about those like nobody's business, but I had decided proactively in the spirit of the low buy not to pursue them and see what I felt about missing out on them. I'm not ultimately too bummed about those ones. And then one book that I guess is kind of in this category was the facsimile for Spectacular Spider-Man issue 1 came out during this month, and I really wanted that, but I felt like I would be able to easily find it later. It wasn't a matter of if I don't get it, I won't find it. So I ended up purchasing that immediately when the like next month rolled around. So in the end, I've identified 4 through lines or main outcomes that I think I'm gonna keep top of mind and I would hope to pursue as a result of this. One being, I would love to kind of keep doing this randomly throughout the year as sort of a check-in point, because it was so interesting to me to like assess my spending and come to the conclusion that a reasonable monthly budget or expectation for myself at the local comic shop is $75 a month. And I started this at the beginning of the year-ish with a budget of about $50 a month. So I can see that like, as my interest and my understanding of the hobby has grown, so has my budget, and it's at a number that I'm like willing to still play ball with. Also in line with the financial aspect of it is the value of trades is so real. Like we all know that a trade, usually 6 issues for $20 or less, is a good deal. And me paying $18 a week for 4 issues on average is like, I could be getting 2 more issues per week for that same cost by buying a trade, if that makes sense. Like if that girl math makes sense to you. And so looking back at those books that I missed, like it's just worth it to trade weight them, and that's okay. And that can also play a role or like be an outcome of pacing yourself and making sure your TBR pile doesn't get too out of hand. It's okay to trade weight things and expect them and anticipate them and build extra excitement for them, because it's way, way, way easier on your wallet. And then the final one, which is what I knew I would come out of this having gleaned, is keep a clean pull list, do your homework, pay attention to final order cutoffs, understand what you are going into the shop with the intention of bringing home, because at the end of the day, like I'm bringing books home into my home, and I want those to be items that I enjoy, that I love, that I would pass along to friends, that I would share with people, that I would talk about, that I would think about later. I don't want them to just be like these fleeting purchases that gather dust. I want the issues in my short boxes and on my shelves to like be something that I truly enjoyed. I don't want to just accumulate random things. So for sure, the easiest way to just keep a manageable collection is to stay on top of your pull list, which is a no-brainer, of course, right? Truly, some of my favorite books I have brought home on a whim, and I think it's important to still kind of like cater to that curiosity or that wonder, but it's necessary to step back and be intentional about that and don't just get caught up in the pace of 2026. So happy reading, happy collecting, and you know, maybe take a look at your budget.